quaint yet hip Tiong Bahru is one of Singapore's most popular neighbourhoods. Today, the charming estate is famous for its cafe culture and celebrated hawker fare. But there is more to Tiong Bahru than meets the eye. As a designated conservation area in Singapore, Tiong Bahru also holds both historical significance and a rich heritage. Developed in 1936 by the Singapore Improvement Trust, the residential estate was built to address the housing shortage back then. The Tiong Bahru estate features fair-faced brickwork and distinctive curved forms, corners, and entrances. Inspired by British public housing of the time, the estate is actually credited for bringing modern European living concepts to Asia.
There were certain features in those flats that are adaptation of the tropical shop houses that we can still find in downtown area like Chinatown and Little India. These features include a very broad 5-foot-way corridor in front of the flats on the ground floor, which is open access to the public, which will shelter them from the sun and rain, and it remains a very useful typology to include in the flats here, and that was still present today.
These spaces allow for coffee shops and eateries to have al fresco seating.
The back lane allowed for access for the residents, at least for the ground floor residents, from the back of the house, and also for the other residents upstairs to access from the rear staircase.
The Tiong Bahru flats originally had green glass windows and concrete sunroofs, which helped reduce the amount of heat sealed in by the thick concrete walls.
The other feature that you will find in these pre-war flats are air wells. Air wells is kind of architectural feature that you find in tropical shop houses because it affords light and ventilation to the center of a very deep shop house building. But in Tiong Bahru, when it was built, the same concept was brought in, only that this time the air well is very tiny compared to a shop house, which usually is about one room big.
Due to relatively high rentals in the past, the estate was considered out of reach for many. Those who could afford it were mostly Chinese families and affluent Chinese men.
I have been living in Tiong Bahru since 1960. Last time, everybody here, my mother and all the sisters and brothers all stay here. So many kept Mrs. here. This is a Mrs. area, well known as a Mrs. area.
In fact, locals used to refer to Tiong Bahru as Nai Tun, meaning Mistress Village.
Because in those days, the wife, most of them did not suspect. They thought this is a good area to stay, and among the Chinese, keeping Mrs. somehow become the happy.
However, Tiong Bahru is still a wholesome neighbourhood where many families choose to settle down. There is easy access to a wide variety of amenities like the Tiong Bahru Market, which has become a landmark in the area.
我们是在巴萨卖鸡，那个时候是卖活的，还没有杀的，这样就工作比较忙一点，所以孩子就在这边，我们有时候要回来看都方便。
我是在1960年结婚，结婚了之后，1966年我们才搬来这边。以前呢还没有联络所，还没有那个会员之前，我们就是他的会员。有时候要做什么，我们就出力出人。他们要做什么，我们就做什么咯。
By the 80s and 90s, the estate started to become less favorable when compared to modern housing board estates and condominiums. This led to a sense of uncertainty among residents. Some were afraid that their homes would be torn down to make way for new developments.
Well, as with any old public housing in Singapore, the pace of development always is a pressure on the residents. Every flat is at risk of being redeveloped.
Residents took pride in their estate. Many of them felt that the infrastructure of the estate was invaluable. In 2003, any concerns about the estate's future were allayed. The Urban Redevelopment Authority officially declared that the estate would be conserved. This meant that the original structure and architectural elements of the estate would be retained and restored as far as possible. The announcement also kickstarted a revitalization of Tiong Bahru. Since then, Tiong Bahru today sees older establishments coexisting alongside newer ones, which is a contemporary reflection of the vibrant and friendly spirit of the estate. Similarly, we see an influx of new residents who now call Tiong Bahru home, with long-time residents as their next-door neighbours.
In the past 20 years, many younger people have moved to Tiong Bahru, charmed by its unique architecture and the layout of the estate. But at the same time, many old residents are still here. But because of the lack of space, there's actually very little opportunity for them to interact and get to know about the past and present and the future of these estates. So maybe we should think about setting up some space here for them to really have more exchanges and really, looking at old photos and sharing about memories and really let Tiong Bahru come alive through the interactions between the old and new residents.
Tiong Bahru is cherished by many Singaporeans. With its rich history and unique architecture, the estate is an important part of Singapore's heritage.